Just ordered an egg and a chicken on eBay. I'll keep you guys posted. What's going on, YouTube? It is Tuesday, which means we have a full new week of 3 vendors that have refreshed. We start with the Infinite Archive, which is inside of Apocrypha. If you've never been here before, he's right over here. And nicely now, we have a couple updates to this vendor. So firstly, it now tells you what something is part of. We're still going to go over the actual lead itself, because this one, you kind of want to know where it comes from. That determines if it's annoying. This one comes from Lava Vent Dailies, but it's part of a music box. How much you value a music box coming from Lava Vent Dailies, you might get lucky, you might get unlucky. The nice thing is about Lava Vents, they're still actively farmed, and you can always go get those quests on multiple characters. If you truly wanted to get this lead, a lot of people will only farm, these daily quests on their main character. I would just encourage you, if you want to get a lead like this, utilize all your characters. Next up, we have Silver Weed Cord. Now, this one is from the Harpooner's Wading Kilt, which I will show you in just one moment, because it is one of the most essential leads to get, in my opinion. The antiquity itself is fantastic, but this lead is really not anything special. Balforen, super easy to do. So yes, you want this lead, but no, you don't need to purchase this lead. Go to Balforen, kill some Covenant enemies, and you'll be hunky-dory. The only time leads like this become really annoying is when they're brand new and everybody and their mom is killing all the Covenant enemies in Balforen. But the Harpooner's Wading Kilt is the best in slot Mythic for DPS damage, as long as you're not getting touched inappropriately by enemies. So dealing direct damage grants you a stack of Hunter's Focus for 20 seconds, up to 10 stacks. You can gain 1 stack per second. Each stack increases your critical chance by 1/10 and your critical damage by 1%. Taking damage, however, removes 5 stacks up to once per second. So that's the drawbacks and the bonuses. A lot of crit and crit damage, but you can't really be getting hit by enemies. So it's great for trials, some 4-man content, but it definitely does have some restrictions. Now, this next one kind of surprised me, because this is Lady Thorn's Mask. Now, you could buy this bound for 15,000 Archival Fortunes. However, if you were to take a little peeky poo at the market, you'll see that the market has actually plummeted in value for this item, which is a bit surprising. I know that it was farmable very recently, but I thought that it still would have at least kept the 1 million gold mark, but it has definitely dropped well past that. All that to say, it has been farmable recently, and it does look very, it's a face that a mother could love, but probably not a father. They probably are going to take a trip to get some milk, not return, unfortunately. So I would generally suggest that you save 15,000 Archival Fortunes versus going and buying this mask. If you want to get it for gold, right now on the market, it's like 500,000, which is really affordable for a difficult to farm bound style page for those collectors out there. Next up, we have the items that you guys think that I've been skipping. They just weren't out on console. They just didn't exist. Now, you can buy these, however, they are bind on pickup. You are going to need to make your money back by actually selling these items. If you think you can sell candles and stew pots with lobster in it, which granted, probably one of the best ways you could make stew, you then go for it. But I would generally not suggest any of these. The best one probably is the Leowin serving pot, because you could sell, some people some food to put on their tables and whatnot. But if you look at the stuff that has to go into this, you got 2 ivory clasps, you've got frost miriam, fish, regulus, decorative wax, alchemy resin. Not really free to make when it comes to those items, especially your ivory clasps. So your profit margins are not going to be super great on any of these. I'm going to try to only point these out when they're super good, but I will note that this one is the best one of the 3. Even though people do like bookcases, nobody looking for the Murkmire ones. Next up are Shadowfen treasure maps, which funny enough are actually the best treasure maps in my opinion of a base game zone when it comes to sets. You've got the Hist, you've got Swamp Raider, and that ain't enough. That's not enough to make it worth buying treasure maps. So just to give you some clues as to which maps are going to be worth buying ever, not Shadowfen ones. It pretty much has to be the newest zone or a zone that has tons of antiquity drops that you could pick up leads for. It's got to have super rare motifs that drop from them and good sets. Shadowfen got good sets, but been out for forever, and the sets aren't going to be enough to justify 2,000 archival fortunes. Then we have heavy armor, which are definitely the juicer magoosers when it comes to chase items. You can get reduced damage taken for your companions. You get increased health, reduced cooldown. So you have some decent odds to get pieces that you need, especially if you're building a companion from scratch. People love tanky companions, so this is a good little bit of a gamble if you're interested. Then we have Brave Little Scrib and the River Troll. Now, unfortunately for the Scribs, they're filled with gold and money. So they really are brave when they see meat rolling up. Then we have the Plague Concoctor's Instructions, which I pray that I just pronounced that correctly because I don't want to re-record this part of the video. So please just let me have this. And we have Expedition, Mangle, Multi-Target, and Gladiator's Tenacity. You'll be thankful to know that most of these are not super helpful. Expedition, maybe, if you're like, Jake, I need a speed build right now. Maybe, but like you could just wear speed gear and not archival fortunes it onto a skill. So overall, none of these scribing skills are going to be really helpful and necessary for your purchase. Then we have our item that you can literally just buy on the ESO open market for like 10,000 gold because it's a fragment from a public dungeon. We have our erroneous maps, which you can get just by completing Infinite Archive mumbo jumbo. So 3,000 fortune seems a little bit of an investment. And then we have Fragment of the Crucible, which you could guess where that comes from. I'll give you a hint. Crucible is the second part of where it comes from. Put in the comments below, I'll give you a moment. If you guessed Blessed Crucible, you are correct. Now, would you rather spend 5,000 archival fortunes versus running a cupcake dungeon? Up to you. Probably easier to just run the dungeon because fragments are a 100% drop rate. And our next vendor is inside of Ivea, inside the Scholarium, right over here. As always, check the ESO Helper webpage if you need any more assistance finding these bad boys. And the reason that I love this guy a lot more, again, the Grimoires at the top are fixed, these scripts are rotational, is that you can use your gold. Gold is a currency that a lot of people have, and it's easy to get. Most of you don't have Telvar. Some of you have a decent chunk of it. Most of you don't have Alliance Point. Some of you have it. Most of you don't have a lot of archival fortunes. But decently, a lot of you have gold, and all of those currencies I just mentioned can be converted into gold, so it's easier to have gold on a character. So we start off with Savagery and Prophecy, pretty decent, probably not essential to purchase if you're on a budget, but I would encourage you to get it if you aren't on a budget. Disease Damage, also okay, probably not worth it because it's a little more expensive. However, Generate Ultimate is incredible, especially for PvP. You are always in combat in PvP. It's a bug, but let the bug work for you. Generate your ultimate 95% of the time you're in Cyrodiil. You will thank me later. It is the best scribing skill to have for PvP. Trust me. And then Leeching Thirst is fine. I generally recommend getting these because they're a little bit more finicky to get because they're a signature script versus some of these other ones. But definitely Generate Ultimate. You'll want it. And finally, we have our Lambient Passage Imperial City vendor inside of, you could probably, we're in the Imperial City. So, talk to this bad man Majama here. You have rotational items as well with your Telvar. Now, the first one is Deadly Strike. Now, Deadly Strike is an S tier staple set. It's one of the only sets that's good for both PvP and PvE. So, a lot of people love it just for that. However, 100,000 Telvar is a significant amount of gold. It on console is worth at least 400 to 500,000 gold, and you could buy a Deadly Strike necklace for less. Now, to get that amount of gold for your Telvar, you would have to join a trading guild. You're going to have to sell a bunch of items, whether it's a Jakku Ruins, or more importantly, I would encourage you to get the 1.5k Telvar coffer. Those are the best return on your investment. If you did Hakaiju Ruins and you had the Kudas, you probably are only making a 2 to 3 times profit. But even then, you could find a Deadly Strike necklace on console probably for about 150 to 200,000 gold at maximum. At minimum, you could find these for about 60 to 80,000 right around Mid-Year Mayhem. So I would not encourage you to buy this Deadly Strike necklace, even though it's an S tier staple set. Next up, we have Shield Breaker, which has a line of stam recovery, weapon and spell, and increase your damage done by 6%. This effect is double when attacking targets with a damage shield active. The problem with a set like this is this should be its best meta, right? So this is the time when Shieldbreaker should be destroying all the sorcerers out there. The problem is that even in its best meta form, it's still not good enough. So I would give this like a 7 out of 10. You know, it's good. You could build a good build with it, but in its best meta form, it's not hitting the numbers that it needs to do. This should be the time when this is a 10 out of 10 staple set for PvP. But because it's not there, it makes me worried that even further down the road, it's going to be even further down the tier list. Next up is part of the Storm Weaver's Cavort. Now, this one is relatively easy to get. It's just group event bosses inside of the Toothmaw Gully Public Dungeon in Arteron. So not really worth spending gold on, or excuse me, Telvar on, which could easily be converted to gold. Is Stormweaver something that you want to own? Also probably not, unless you want to build some really finicky Magicka infinite sprint build. Not necessary. This next one is odd because it's the Saint and Seducer. So the Saint and Seducer is notoriously one of the best PvP sets in the game. And it says it comes from Alderon or Arteron dolmens, but likely dolmens of any zone. However, PvP players notoriously don't like farming things. So if you, most PvP players are going to have 25k Telvar. So if you're a PvP player, would you rather sit around and farm dolmens, or would you rather be one step closer to one of the most essential PvP mythics for most builds? Because it gives you all sorts of random buffs at different time periods. So it's an interesting question. If you are a PvP player, I would say this is worth 25,000 Telvar, just so that way you're not running around doing dolmens, because if you've got the time, 25,000 dolmens could be saving you a significant amount of time grinding. So if you've got the resources, I would definitely encourage you to get this lead / mythic. Whether you're investing your time or your Telvar is up to you. Gold Coast treasure maps, unfortunately, are not the Gold Road treasure maps, which would be significantly better. Unfortunately, those would be called Westweld, so a little bit different anyway, even on the naming scheme. Gold Coast was before they had really any good leads, mythics, any good chase items from treasure maps. Easy skip, obviously, too. We've talked about these sets already. And then that brings us to our scripts, which thankfully are really all bad, because you could go buy Brutality and Sorcery with gold right now. So why would you spend Telvar on it? Immobilize, sure, could be convenient when you want to keep people from moving away from you, and Thief Swiftness is fine too, but not to the point where I would encourage you to invest this much Telvar, especially if you don't have it already, because these numbers are likely higher for you if you don't have these unlocked on another character. And this fragment literally just comes from a world boss inside of a base game zone, so probably not something you want to purchase, but you could make your werewolf more green. Now, why are werewolves associated with a green roar? Not sure, but if you could do these 5 things one time, you'll get yourself this little green roar. So obviously not really worth, 5,000 Telvar. But everyone, thank you guys so much again for watching. To kind of give you a quick summary, the 2 items that I would purchase are probably the Saint Seducer lead, unless you're okay with spending a little time doing some PvE farming, just because it is a PvP mythic, and getting Heroism. Heroism is absolutely incredible, in my opinion, especially for PvP. So thank you guys so much again for watching. As always, we're doing our 3 giveaway drawings. We just had our hidden word yesterday, but don't worry, it's a brand new month. So of the 3 things you need to do, you just need to leave a comment and like on the video. That'll get you 1 entry in our first drawing. Second drawing will be for a random subscriber, so just be subscribed. We're so close to 29,000. We're in the home stretch. And the third thing is look for a hidden word to be flashed up on screen. If you're the first person to find and comment that word, you will win. Thank you guys so much again for watching. Have a fantastic Tuesday, and I'll catch you later. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.